Hey everybody, it's Julie Quinn here, and I thought I would do some PARC concepts onto different websites. None of the websites that you have listed there because I wanted to do a fresh one, and I do think that the concepts carry over from site to site like they would from document to document. So I've got two websites for us to take a look at today. This one is the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine, and this one is Macy's, just to sort of show you some of those concepts. So let's play around with them. The first one I'd like to talk about is contrast. This is a website that has white background with predominantly black text, so that creates a nice contrast. We've got images fairly centered on the page. We've got this banner here. We've got actually this little blurb here. We've got the images. We sort of have like a triptych with the three images here. Then you'll notice that there's a little bit of overlap, but then the sub images below are centered toward the middle as well, and that there are three, and that they are actually, even though it's not perfectly aligned on the left and the right, the alignment on this page is, at least for this first section, is dead in the center. These images have a little bit of white space. These all sort of blend together, but there's a rhyme and reason. Images aren't overly bunched up, and the website is fairly navigable. So as far as repetition is concerned, each of these buttons uses the same space in between each one, which is great, the repetition of space. We also have repetition of font, all the font sizes. If we look at the women's, the headers are in bold, everything is on a left alignment. Same with the men's, same with the kids, same with home. So there is an absolute obvious repetition in design. While some things are centered, at least when text is concerned, it's on what we would call a left justification. So with text, there is a left justification alignment here. So consistency, you can see, and repetition, you can see all of this as well. There is really nice contrast here. Sometimes you see a little bit of red text, but it's mostly black and white. But red's nice with contrast too, right? You'll notice that it makes the sale deals pop up, and you even go to the main page. We got a little bit of it with the countdown for those sales. So most of the text is in black with little pops of color. Red and purple tend to be on the website. Now, here's a way to look at proximity on this site. With the women's clothing, all of this is nicely sort of under that header. It's not moving around, and all the spacing is consistent. So there's a proximity with the header and the sub-content. Then a little bit of extra white space to the next one. So that shows that these sections are within the plus sizes, for example. So remember, proximity, related things near each other. Like you've got these related items on the deals on our radar, and you can still see left justification. So alignment, consistency, proximity, contrast, it's all here. This website's pretty well designed. But, you know, you may have chosen different elements yourself, but it's fairly easy to navigate. Now, I want to show you this other website. This is a site that I use in my 112 class where we talk about bad data on the web. So I'm not recommending anybody pay any attention to the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine. But this is an example of an older website. You'll notice that the title is actually aligned on the right margin. We have two main columns of information. We have a navigation column to the left, and then we have the info column, the big 2/3 of the text on the right, and then there's an article, looks like a peer-reviewed journal article on MRI and something related to medicine. We've got an email. We have the links to people. So is there consistency on the site? Somewhat. There's consistency in the fact that the text, much of the text is on left margin, but then the title's on the right margin. And the title within the academic peer review article is on the left. So that is a lack of consistency. But at least with the links, they're all in the same font and they're all on the left margin. And we do see some proximity under each of those headings. One of the issues with this website is that it's much older. It hasn't been updated in at least a decade, right? And you can see that there's poor contrast. It's got the repeated logo or the name of the company in gray with shadow on white. That's poor contrast. It can make it, with the shadows making it look blurry, but the gray on white doesn't make the text really pop. So I would recommend not having a report or a briefing that uses a similar style. Okay, so we do see some repetition in some links. We see some proximity here, but we see bad contrast. And the alignment tends to be inconsistent. So again, especially with mostly on the left margin, but yet the title shifts over to the right margin, but the title here and the title here are also on left. So those are those little elements that if somebody was affiliated with this organization, we can make a recommendation to make their site pop. And what I want to see from your discussions this week are, depending on the sites and depending on the features you're interested in, you get a chance to practice with these, because these concepts you're going to apply to your writing assignments 4, 5, and your presentation. So the writing assignments 4 and 5 coming up are not actually going to be independent instructions documents like we did with writing assignments 2 and 3, even though Quick Start Guide was an instructions document, just a condensed one. But they're going to be hybrid technical / academic documents that are prose oriented, where you have like an introduction, a problem, a solution, and a conclusion, and so on and so forth. So you're going to be able to, though, practice the PARC concepts on writing assignments 4 and 5 when you go into how do you include images on the page? How do you determine what layout functions best for readers, especially when you have paragraphs of content? These practicing with PARC concepts on these websites, these are mostly image driven with a little bit of text. The opposite's going to be true for you. Yours writing assignments 4 and 5 are going to be predominantly text with a couple of images interspersed. But you're going to be practicing what images do you choose, how do you label them, how do you provide data-oriented content. That's what we will be practicing in writing assignments 4 and 5. So I hope this little tutorial on looking at PARC concepts on websites helps solidify the idea for you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to let me know.